Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This time we're going to be doing another episode in my Pro Replay Analysis series. This time we're going to be watching a little bit of a more interesting or off-meta or whatever you want to call it. This is going to be one of Rohammers' AP Tryndamere gameplays. So Rohammers is somebody who is very well known for his Tryndamere, and he kind of is really the only guy who has continued to play AP Tryndamere. And just to give a little bit of backstory, there was a time, this was actually, I think, before I even was playing League of Legends. This was probably, I think, during Season 2, if my memory serves me correctly. But there was a time when AP Tryndamere was a thing, and so the idea is that AP Tryndamere, so you've got the high AP ratio on your spin in terms of damage, and you also have a very high AP ratio on your heal, and I think that specifically the heal is really what was most abused by AP Tryndamere. So what they changed though is, the biggest thing that was changed is that now in order for Tryndamere to really unlock the heavy heal, he needs to stack up his rage and then consume the rage to get the big heal. So I know that before, you could just spam your Q on cooldown and just get these huge heals over and over and over again. But now you need to auto-attack to build up the rage to get the heals. But if you can do that, I know that the AP Tryndamere healing is absolutely obscene. And then you also get the high base damage and high AP ratio on your E. So you do have some damage there. And then I know that Rohammers will build stuff like Nashers. He'll also get CDR boots, so that's 40% CDR right there. So that's quite a bit of that also makes you highly mobile because you have a very low cooldown on your E. I think it's down to like a 5 or 6 second cooldown. So it's almost Kassadin level mobility. And then you've got a lot of attack speed with the Nashers. I also think he'll maybe go for stuff like maybe Azanya's for some more defensibility. So you've still got your Tryndamere ultimate, and you've still got Zanya's to just give you a ton of survivability. And then also maybe something like Ginsu's Rage Blade is actually an interesting purchase on Tryndamere. He is definitely somebody that could make use of all those stacks, just because his ability to, with his ult, he's going to stack up auto attacks on an individual target, and he can use that tremendous, those steroids without dying or getting bursted out. Because that's one of the main problems with Rage Blade is that it's very difficult to find the optimal use to really take advantage of all of those steroids, because it's difficult to ride that line where you're taking damage to get into that, I think it was under half health or under 40% or something, but you're also not getting bursted down quick enough so that you can still actually, I don't know, it's just kind of a weird item. And I think AP Tryndamere actually makes good use of it in a way that few other champions do. So we'll see what he builds. I also would say that in comparison with an AD Tryndamere, AD is going to have really probably more formidable split pushing. He's going to take towers so fast. He's going to be really difficult in a 1v1. But I think AP Tryndamere would actually do quite a bit better in team fights, just because you've got so much lower cooldown, so you've got high mobility with your E. You also have some really insane, your W is like this crazy steroid. Nice all in here. But or not a steroid, a debuff. Your E is this, or your W is this huge debuff. And so you have very low cooldown, high uptime on your W. And then obviously with the heals, you can kind of be this crazy, bait by using your heal and your ult. So kind of an interesting playstyle, but I actually want to watch, we'll see if he picks up this kill, and I want to watch that jungle fight one more time. Okay, nice. Yeah, and he actually did use his flash to make sure he got away. So especially with these early level fights, I think it's very important. So when you are watching a replay like this, you always want to be asking yourself, why did this go well for him? And you want to use that information to, I guess, take advantage of it, and how can you implement that into your own gameplay? Because this is all decision making. So if we look at it right here, excuse me, I need a drink of water. He's a little bit of lower health. He doesn't have Ignite, and he's AP Tryndamere, so he's not terribly strong. But one key thing to understand is that Scion is pretty Also, I would not say that Scion is a very scary early champion either. Also, Nautilus is here, and he's ready to go. So, I think the main reasons why this fight goes well is, one, because, let's see. Yeah, you can see a really nice heal there. So he kind of baited them in with his heal. Got a really nice E. There's also some minion damage going in their favor, and also Scion is So all of those things kind of come together, because Scion can't really do anything right now. So all of those things came together really nicely. You can see he used his massive heal to try to bait a little bit for the Nautilus to come in. The minion aggro was working in their favor, and Scion was So all those factors, I think, really worked together to make that all-in go successful. So, nice early play there from Rohammers. I think more than anything... Oh, nice. Sorry, we already watched that. I think more than anything, that really just shows you the benefit of champion mastery. I think that a lot of times... So, I get a lot of questions, and I see a lot of discussion where people are talking about, well, what's the current state of this champion? Or... is this champion better than this champion in terms of carrying solo queue? And while every champion has their own strategic advantages and disadvantages, I would actually argue that Riot has done a really nice job of getting it to a point where, they've talked a lot about champion diversity. I know I watched the patch 5.2 notes last night, and that was one of the things that they discussed. And Voyboy even made the point that he thought that the game has actually been pretty diverse, and there are quite a bit of viable champions. And I would agree. I think there are quite a few champions that are pretty darn strong. And it just is... I think that this gameplay so far really goes to show you that, it's more a question of champion mastery, and it's a question of knowing exactly, understanding your champion's power spikes and knowing how to take advantage of your champion's abilities. Rohammers has played so many games on Tryndamere that he knows the ins and outs of Tryndamere so well that he can really abuse that knowledge and that gameplay to carry his games. And I think that to some extent, this goes to show you a little bit that it doesn't necessarily matter what champion you pick, but it more matters how good are you with the champion that you do pick. I think that is a very important lesson, I think, for a lot of players is, and I'll say it again, it's not so important what champion you pick, it's more important how good you are with the champion that you did pick. In terms of viability, I would say almost every single champion in the game is viable, except for maybe like one or two. Like, maybe Urgot. And I think you could even make an argument that it's possible to have success with Urgot. But, he probably isn't in the best place. But still, with all of that in mind, we're looking at AP Tryndamere. Like, this is not meta. This is not something that people would consider strong, yet he's 3-1, and he's doing very, very well. I've seen Rohammers have good games on AP Tryndamere before, and I think that this goes to show you how strong some of these strategies can be if you master the champion and can really take the time to really, I guess, abuse your mastery and use that to carry these games. So, looks like Annie's coming in for this, and I think he's going to be able to get away. He hasn't used his ult yet. Ooh, that was close. Nice. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things about Tryndamere is you actually can use your ult even if you're crowd controlled. I could be wrong, but I don't think that there's anything in the game that actually prevents Tryndamere from using his ultimate. So that's probably why, I know like Kayla's a champion I play pretty frequently, and it's kind of a situation where, I probably would use my ult there just because if you don't use it, you can't. Because once you get CC'd, you are basically silenced. But I think with Tryndamere in that situation, you can see he's trying to bait right here. Ooh, that was close. Let's see if Nautilus, is he level 6? And he still has his ult, so going aggressive here is definitely fine. He might even go for a tower dive. Okay, never mind. If he was AD Tryndamere, he probably would have gone for that dive. But the thing about AP Tryndamere is you have to realize that a lot of your power is invested in your E. So when you use your E, you're a little bit more worthless, especially before you get Nashers. Yeah, but once you use... on AD Tryndamere, your E is basically just a tool to close the gap, to stick to your target. But on AP Tryndamere, it's definitely a damage source. So that's another distinction that you need to understand. And definitely something that Rohammers, he's going to go in here. He actually popped his ult. Okay, so he actually popped his ult a little bit early because he thought Annie would combo. Oh, nice spin over the wall. And he's going to get a little help from his allies. So that was a really nice play right there. Again, use just the mastery of Tryndamere, not panicking, knowing that all I need to do is get to this wall so I can spin. And again, one of the real advantages of AP Tryndamere is he's got 15% from boots, 25% from the fiendish, and then he's probably got another 5% or so from his masteries. So maybe he even has some CDR in his blues. I'm not exactly sure, but because he has so much CDR, he knows he's got a lot more uptime on his spin, and is going to be able to escape and be really slippery. That's another, I don't know if I mentioned this, but another huge advantage of AP Tryndamere is his slipperiness. His is so high. His ability to escape and be difficult to lock down is really, really good. Using the CDR, getting another mocking shout, nice. So a really great teleport play right there. I would say that if you are a top lane main, you really, really want to be watching plays like that, and you want to keep really paying close attention to what types of factors go into when a high elo top laner chooses to use their teleport. And actually, I want to go back and really cover this. So, because I think this is really important to realize is what goes into the decision making. So he actually was looking to teleport, and then he sees this happening, and he chooses to teleport almost instantly. And so if you actually look at this, you can see a couple things. Is one, this red team is using a ton of cooldowns to secure these kills. There goes the Black Shield. There's Morgana's ultimate. I think we'll even see Graves use his abilities. And so that when you can come in to clean up like this, for a fact that they don't have much left. They've pretty much used it all. And so, and also you can see how hard they had committed to secure those kills. That's another thing is, that Morgana and the Sivir really want to secure those kills, because they spent so much. They don't want to see the teleport and think, oh, we might as well just back off. They're blood hungry. They want the kill in the worst way. Let's see. I think that Annie did secure that kill on the Nidalee, and then at this point it's probably best to escape. At this point in the game, AP Tryndamere is not a tremendously high damage source compared to AD Tryndamere. I think AD Tryndamere, he probably has better laning too than an AP Tryndamere, just because AD Tryndamere, if you get some of those early crits, your laning is so good. Very, very high damage and very strong in lane. And a little bit better mid-game power spike. Tryndamere really spikes hard with, even if you just go Bilgewater, Static Shiv, Infinity Edge, even with just those two items. Bilgewater's a half an item, I guess. Bilgewater and Static Shiv, you power spike really hard. And I don't think that AP Tryndamere has the same power spike. Probably does spike pretty hard with Nashers, just so that you have more sustained damage. And the CDR is really good too, but I think that he maybe needs a couple more items where he really starts to get kind of scary. Gonna try and ignore this Scion just a little bit and to cure this tower. You can see he's got his heal, he's got his E, he's got his ult. He can kind of just ignore this full tank Scion a little bit. Tryndamere is still the annoying split pusher. You see there he uses his ult, and all he's gonna try to do is get over this wall, and he is away scot-free. Sitting on his heal to try and kind of bait out this Scion. You can see he's actually not even basing. This is kind of hilarious. there goes the ult. He's just going to dodge it. Scion, I think, is definitely going to have a hard time with an AP Tryndamere just because, wow, this is just crazy how much heal. Oh, look at that heal. That is obscene. And there's really nothing that this Scion can do, especially because he went Frozen Heart. Like, this is just crazy. Oh, my goodness, look at these heals. He's going to secure this kill. This is crazy. That was pretty nuts right there. I think that's kind of where AP Tryndamere starts to really be a little bit ridiculous. A lot of healing, a lot of mobility. Very, very annoying. It's almost where AD Tryndamere is just like, it has so much, just raw power and damage. AP Tryndamere is a lot more just obnoxious. Like, not so much this crazy hard carry like the AD Tryndamere, but a lot more obnoxious and a lot very, very, just a much different playstyle, but I think can be equally effective as Rohammers is really showing us. This is pretty intriguing. Definitely has a very unique skill set with the intense healing, high mobility, not necessarily as high damage. I think the damage will come as he continues to scale with items. Especially when you go for an item like Nasher, so much of Nasher's power is in the 15% on hit. So if you think about it, if you're doing 15% of your ability power, let's compare this to like a cooldown. So right now he's got, I think, 1.37 attack speed. So I'm going to just round that to 1.0 just for ease of math. So if you do 15, that's for 1 second. You do 30 for 2 seconds, 45 for 3, 50 for 4, or 60. 45 to 60. 60 for 4 seconds. So on a 4-second cooldown, having a 60% AP ratio is pretty dang good. On top of like 150 base damage, which would be your attack damage. Oh, see, he's got to use his flash there to get away, get a heal. Nice. So in terms of... Oh, nice. Nearly got that kill. So in terms of comparing Nashers to an ability, it actually has pretty good damage. You get, like I said, compare that, what other champions have like a 4-second cooldown ability? We're talking about like the, Syndra or Ziggs. I think having a 60% AP ratio is pretty comparable. And so, now realize that is over time. You need to land continuous auto attacks, whereas all Ziggs needs to do is throw one bomb, or all Syndra needs to do is throw out one sphere. Tryndamere needs to land, multiple auto attacks. And it looks like he is going for that Rage Blade second. I wonder if part of that is because he's so fed. Rage Blade is definitely going to be better in a 1v1, but if you think about that fight that he had with Scion last time, like he spent so much of that fight on low health. And think about this, the synergy with Tryndamere's Q, where he gets all that extra attack damage when he's on low health. And combine that with your ultimate, like it just really has some unique synergy with Tryndamere that I can see why it is a strong choice, and certainly an intriguing one. Rage Blade is definitely not the best of items out there, but it's very interesting to see Rohammers make it work because it does have such unique and interesting synergy with Tryndamere. Really nice. So this is one of the things that Tryndamere, I think, are really good about, is really a high point of Tryndamere, is really taking control of the enemy jungle. So not only are you really difficult to kill, not only do you push lanes super hard and are almost impossible to kill in a 1v1, but you are, you're basically taking over your opponent's jungle, making it, just obscenely annoying for them to... He hasn't even used his ult yet. Wow. It just makes your opponent... Like, what can this Jarvan do? He took his red buff. He's been taking the double golems. Like, he just doesn't have a lot of options. Using the... Nice job using that W debuff there to make sure that Scion and Jarvan don't have a lot of ability to burst him down and finish off that kill. And abusing the mobility with his E. You can see he's fighting in the jungle where there's a lot of walls. There's a lot of ways for him to escape. He's just got a lot of options. Oh, nice. So he did actually get the E auto attack before Annie got the stun. Nice. Well played there. So overall, definitely doing a lot of work this game. And, back to my earlier point, I think one of the dangers of doing a video like this is I think sometimes people will see this and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that is so legit. And people, I think, really enjoy some of these more off-meta builds. I would be very cautious about doing an off-meta build unless you spend some time kind of learning the power curves that it has and really making sure that you understand the build. Because, with these off-meta builds, certainly they're very interesting and very intriguing, but they're different. And I think that a lot of times people who don't fully appreciate the differences and the nuances will try these and they'll have a difficult time, and that's going to cause problems. So really try and make sure that you work out a lot of these intricacies and you understand the power spikes. And, Rohammers knows Tryndamere so well that it's difficult to say, well, I don't know if many other players know Tryndamere quite as well and can really abuse that knowledge in a little bit more of a unique build like Tryndamere can, or like Rohammers can with his Tryndamere. So at this point, he's just being so obnoxious. And I think this is one of the things I commented earlier is how AP Tryndamere is a little bit better in team fights. I think that we've really seen Rohammers group a little bit more and seek out some of these skirmish fights in the jungle where he can really abuse his strengths. He's got a lot of mobility, a lot of elusiveness, a lot of bait potential. Got some really interesting stuff going on. Oh, finally gets picked off there with the Scion passive. Curious to see what he goes for after the Rage Blade. I would think you would want to consider going for a little bit more. See, and one of the difficulties about this type of build is you run into the penetration problem, is what I call it. In order to scale into the late game, you basically must, if you're going to do damage in a late game situation, like past 30 minutes, you absolutely must have some sort of penetration, whether it's magic penetration or armor pen. So it looks like he's going to go for a Lichbane, which makes a lot of sense. But without having a real penetration item, this AP Tryndamere build really isn't AP, as I think it is hybrid. He actually has a lot of attack damage. He still can crit on his Q, or on his passive, giving him that crit chance. He still has a lot of physical damage to be dealt. But I think the big problem is going to be a lack of... So he is difficult to itemize against now, but once the Scion gets a lot of armor and MR items, it's going to be difficult for Tryndamere to continue to scale because he doesn't get... the armor pen or magic pen is so incredibly important for scaling into the late game. He just 1v1 that AD carry. That was sweet. He actually popped his ult. Okay, so this is definitely... Oh, look at that heal. Wow, this is hilarious. So you can really see... I want to see how this ends out. I might want to watch this one more time. You can see just how much he is just tooling these guys around in the base. It's almost like a singed at this point, where you're abusing the high mobility. If he can get over this wall, I think he might be gone. Yeah, this is just crazy. I think his ult is on, or his E is on a 6-second cooldown. So, very nice snare from the Morgana. But not quite enough. Holy smokes. Can't believe he got away. Let's watch this fight again. So he finds the Graves in the 1v1. And you can see how, with specifically the W debuff, even though it's only a level 1, he actually is really... reducing Graves, he's really not doing that much damage. Getting 2 spins and then 3 or 4 auto attacks. So still pretty darn good damage. I think he has tapped into that Rage Blade passive now. And then using his ult to secure the kill on Jarvan, and then using his spin to get away. So really, again, maximizing on the strengths. It's a weird build, it's a quirky build, but he understands the strengths and he really maximizes them. Which I think is really neat. Highly mobile, highly annoying, hard to kill, very good at baiting. those are the attributes of this type of a build. And I think he's really doing a good job of making the most of them. So now for the Lichbane, I'm curious if at some point he'll get a Void Staff. You know, he is doing quite a bit of magic damage between his Nashers and the Lichbane. Still doing decent physical damage with the potential for crit on his Q. Or I think it's his passive. I'm not exactly sure where I think it's his passive. And then also Rageblade is giving him some attack damage. Also, I think his E does physical damage. So maybe... yeah, see, this is tough. He has so much mixed damage. I would be really, really curious to see the post-game screen on a Tryndamere build like this. Like, to see exactly what the split of damage is. And if you guys don't know what that is, on the post-game screen, you can actually see the statistics of how much physical damage you dealt, how much magic damage you dealt. Those are really important things to look at. Wow, really, really, a lot of damage there, man. This is probably the highest point of his damage before the enemy team has a lot of armor MR. But you know, you really do want to be looking at how much damage was dealt, how much damage was taken, what types of damage you're dealing, or what types of damage you're receiving. Those are really important stats, because those are the stats that really help you learn how to itemize. You know, if you see that you took you know, like I know there were games when I would play Corki, and I would do like 3/4 of my damage would be magic, you know, and so then it's like, man, that, you know, second or third item, Last Whisper, doesn't really make much sense. If you aren't doing that much physical damage, why go for the Last Whisper? You know, that is something that you only, you know, 80 carries build Last Whisper, so why wouldn't you? Oh, he didn't quite get his ult off there. But only by really looking into the nuances of the post-game screen can you, I think, really appreciate those details. But overall, a pretty flawless game, I think, from Rohammers. And you can see how he has really done a nice job of I think Tryndamere gets a little bit of a bad rap as a pure split pusher. But I think he's done a really great job of spreading his advantage across the map. You can see he hasn't really just been fighting the Scion in the top lane. He's been, you know, really tooling around the whole enemy team, drawing a tremendous amount of pressure. You know, how many times has somebody come to fight him, and you know, just so many times he's gotten away, and really using his advantage across the map. You know, that again, roaming and affecting other areas of the map other than your own lane is a extremely important aspect of having success in solo queue. And I think Rohammers has done a really nice job of taking something that is seen as a split pusher and really using his power to affect his allies in a really good way. So one other thing that I like to do is I actually have this turned on as well, and whenever you deal damage, a little number will pop up. It'll be red if it's physical damage, and I think kind of purplish, or is it green if it's magic damage? Purple. So you can see he's actually doing quite a bit of physical damage. And now he's going to get that huge heal, turn in fight. I mean, just look at this. He's 1v2ing no problem. Oh my goodness. Those heals are just disgusting. This is a really fascinating playstyle. His spin is up again in 6 seconds. Now he's going to be pushing down this tower. There he used his heal to top himself off. Decides not to commit for the tower. He doesn't have his ult up, so he might have to... Oh. I was going to say, I don't know if he's going to... Yep, there goes his flash, and his E is up again. Oh! Oh, if he would have dodged that Scion, I think he would have got away. So it could have been a little more efficient. One thing about flash that I've noticed is... in my mind, I always would consider flash... You should use flash when it can either secure or deny a kill 100%. So, for example, right there, I think he used his flash, but he still gave up the kill. So then it's not worth it. It's not the optimal use of flash. And I bet Rohammers would agree. So instead, I think that it's almost better to flash early. So, for example, when Jarvan ulted, just use your flash to get out of that ultimate. Or when you see Scion barreling towards you, use your flash to flash away from Scion. That's, or like if Blitzcrank is throwing his hook and you know it's going to hit, use your flash to dodge those abilities, rather than if you get, say you get Jarvan ulted and you're sitting in it and then you fight and then, oh shit, I'm not going to win, and then I flash away. Well, that's not the best use. You still might die anyways. But if you can, like if the Blitzcrank hook is incoming and you use your flash to dodge the Blitzcrank hook, well then you haven't taken any damage, and you can likely turn that fight around because a big cooldown has been used and has been basically yielded worthless because they didn't get any value out of that big CC because you dodged it. Dodging a CC with flash is a really important skill, I think, as you progress into kind of a little bit higher, more medium, higher elo. You want to be using that flash to make plays. Just using that E, that insane mobility, it's almost Kassadin level mobility, to tool these guys around, to dodge all these skill shots. He's got these huge heals. Unbelievable. So his typical pattern has been to fight until he gets down to about 1/3 health, and then use a heal, and then once he gets low again, then use his ultimate, and then get a big heal after his ult. So he basically gets almost 3 lives, so to speak, of tremendous mobility, and by that time he's probably had 2 or 3 uses of his E. Oh, almost. But they're going to clean up. I mean, just look at how far he was able to tool those guys around and help make sure that his team secures these kills. So this game is pretty much done. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I want to see the final score. So overall, a very entertaining game. This looks like he goes for a death cap, and then I guess he's thinking about a raid Hextech Gunblade, which actually is a pretty intriguing item on AP Tryndamere, but no penetration, so that's something to keep in mind. I think his damage is definitely going to fall off against tankier targets. But overall, a very interesting game. And if you guys are interested in more of these off-meta stuff, I can definitely look it up. But I think they're interesting to see, and to see why and how exactly they work. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you soon. Bye.